Hello and a very good afternoon to all our viewers who are joining me in this live interaction on News 9's Facebook as well as YouTube page. And say Delhi, and the first thing that comes to your mind is not Taj Mahal or Agra. It is indeed pollution. It's almost as if Delhi and pollution are synonymous, and they add all the more meaning together in this winter season as well. So with the winter setting in, air pollution levels in Delhi are on a constant rise. And the centre and the state government have now announced steps in order to improve the air quality, which is already very poor. And along with this, the blame game has also begun between Delhi and also the neighbouring states in order to control the pollution caused by stubble burning. Now, in the latest, an energy and also a climate policy researcher has said that stubble burning accounts for only 50% of the air pollution in Delhi, and added that on a regular basis, majority of the air pollution in Delhi is from internal sources. And this particular research also pointed out at 5 sectors, which include transport, cooking and residential sector, industry and also services. Dust from both fields and from around Delhi also, through construction activity and even biomass burning, includes stubble burning as well. So in order to answer a few questions and also to give us more insights on this particular topic, we have with us Anumita Roy Chowdhury joining us on the phone line. Many thanks for joining me on this live interaction. And my first question to you today is, what do you think about this particular report and what are your observations, Anumita?
So let's understand this issue and let's first see what science is telling us. So in any city, we have 2 kinds of pollution. One is the continuous sources of pollution, that is throughout the year, where the pollution is coming from vehicles, industry, power plants, waste burning. These are the continuous sources. And then you have the episodic sources, which is like stubble burning, because that is temporary and transient. It happens only when we are harvesting and changing the crop. But when it happens, it does contribute to the overall air quality of the air shed. Now, from that perspective, if you look at the relative contribution, and different studies are now available in Delhi, which is showing this. So broadly, internally in the city, the industry and industrial sources, waste, construction, vehicles, we know roughly what is their relative contribution overall to the local pollution. But stubble burning, when it happens during this time, and suffer, that is IITM has very clearly shown that depending on the speed and direction of the wind, the relative contribution of stubble burning to Delhi's air quality will vary. And it can vary from 4% to 30% on a daily basis. So it can be as low as 4%. It can also be as high as 30%, given the intensity of the fire and direction and the speed of the wind. So it's a highly variable contribution. But keeping that in mind, what it essentially is saying, that don't look at stubble burning as a contributor only from Delhi's air quality perspective. Keep in mind that today we are talking about a landlocked Indo-Gangetic plain. And when you have this kind of gross pollution, when you are just doing such a huge amount of burning across the region, it's actually trapping pollution just not in Delhi, but in that entire region. Even so, other parts of Punjab and Haryana are equally vulnerable to this. And so that's why if we keep looking at stubble burning as only Delhi's problem, then we will not find the real solution, because we have to treat this as a regional problem and therefore take a regional action on this. But it is also very clear from science that we have to make our action on each source of pollution, all the continuous sources of pollution, and the stubble equally stringently. And Delhi, we know that we already have a lot of local problems, and therefore we really need to localize our effort to control hotspots in Delhi. So that's where we really need to go in the future.
Now, Anumita, as we all know, winter is setting in. Do you think that COVID-19 and pollution could be a double whammy for the national capital?
Yes, sure. And everything that the doctors are saying. So let's keep in mind the emerging evidences. So ever since the pandemic has hit, just not in India but across the world, we know now that studies are available, like we have studies carried out in Italy, in Spain, in China, are showing it very clearly that the pandemic-related incidences are higher in more polluted areas. And it's also showing that if the people who are already affected by, suppose those who are already exposed on a longer-term basis to air pollution, and therefore they have weaker respiratory system and affected lungs, then weak lungs will certainly find it harder to fight the virus. So from that perspective, the doctors today in India are cautioning us about the winter pollution. What they're saying that during winter, because of the trapping of the pollution, as you know, during winter what happens, that wind cannot rise high enough to disperse. So, and wind gets calmer and almost stops. So as a result of that, whatever pollution that is happening in the city also gets trapped very close to the ground level. Now, in that kind of a scenario, when smog episodes build up in the city, then and it's a huge pollution all around you. So that in any case increases the incidence of respiratory problems and other lung problems, and leading to hospital emergency and so forth. Now, therefore, if you are already vulnerable and if you are exposed to COVID, that certainly becomes a double whammy. And the COVID-related incidence will therefore increase because already the vulnerable population in the city is so large. So that's the reason why this winter we will have to be doubly more careful to ensure that at one level we have zero tolerance for enforcement. I mean, to ensure that there is no pollution happening in the city, and crack down on open burning of waste, on use of dirty fuels, and too much use of personal vehicles. And at another level, we have to caution and make people aware about taking precaution and not exposing themselves as much. So that is going to become absolutely critical this winter.
Now, Anumita, going forward during such testing times, what are the options with the national capital now in order to curb the pollution levels?
So let's understand today the National Capital Region is working with two plans. One is the Comprehensive Action Plan and the other one is the Graded Response Action Plan. Now the Comprehensive Action Plan, the CAP as we call it, is meant for more systemic reforms in different sectors of pollution. And it has laid out quite much in detail that what we need to do with industry, power plant, with vehicles, waste burning, construction, and so forth. Now, from that perspective, if you look at it, that what has already happened in Delhi, then yes, in fact, it's not that Delhi has not done anything to deal with the problem. In fact, Delhi perhaps has done lot more than other cities in the country. So if you look at Delhi, it has already shut down all its coal power plants. It has banned 10-year-old diesel vehicles, does not allow 15-year-old petrol vehicles. It has restriction on entry of trucks more than 10-year-old, and all trucks have to pay pollution charge to enter Delhi. Delhi has expanded use of natural gas not only in public transport but also in the industrial sector. And Delhi has an approved fuel notification that does not allow use of any dirty fuel in any sector. Now, with this kind of changes that have already happened, on year-on-year basis, we have seen that there is a declining trend in the overall pollution in Delhi, and almost a 25% reduction over the last few years. But even after that reduction, and from all this that have already happened in Delhi, but Delhi still has to reduce its pollution by yet another 60% to meet the cleaner standards. So just imagine how aggressive the pollution control measures have to be to meet the cleaner standard. It's a lesson for other cities as well. But the other plan, which is about the Graded Response Action Plan, that is about emergency action during winter, which means that even after implementing the Comprehensive Action Plan, if we still have pollution problem, then during winter, it is going to build up and get trapped, and therefore you need to take immediate emergency action so that you don't add more fuel to the fire, so that you can at least control the peak pollution and pull it down as much as you can. To be able to do that every winter, therefore, Delhi, depending on how high the pollution is going, it occasionally shuts construction activities, stops industry on dirty fuels. It does not allow diesel generators set. So all kinds of these harsh emergency measures are implemented. In fact, since 15th of October this year, already some of these emergency measures have come into effect in Delhi and NCR already. Okay. Like today in Delhi, you cannot operate a diesel generator set, for instance. Now, going forward, we will have to see how much more emergency action we can take. Because this is going to be a difficult year because we have just come out of the lockdown and we don't want another economic or livelihood disruption. That's why this year, enforcement will become absolutely critical, absolute zero tolerance. But what therefore remains to be seen is that how much we can do during winter to control pollution. And second, where are the gaps in Delhi's action even now, even after doing all of that? And the big gaps are that we still have to strengthen our municipal system so that waste gets collected and disposed of safely from each neighborhood in Delhi so that waste is not burnt in the open. And that municipal preparedness and the system reform is absolutely critical. Second big hole is the transportation sector, where we have a huge deficit in public transport infrastructure. And as a result, dependence on personal vehicles is huge. And this year particularly is going to be even more challenging because even the little public transport that we have, we will not be able to maximize its use because of social distancing reasons. So people are going to depend more and more on personal vehicles and add hugely to the vehicular pollution. So we have to therefore draw a lesson from the lockdown and continue with the practice of work from home, etc., so that we can cut down more systematically the unnecessary travel in the city. And the third big area of intervention that is still needed is that even though Delhi has done a lot to shift its polluting industries out, expand use of natural gas in the legal industrial areas, but there are still large number of small-scale industrial units in unauthorized areas and other parts who are still using dirty fuels. So we have to ensure absolute stringent enforcement of clean fuel policy. So these are the remaining gaps, and we hope that we will be able to plug this and push the system to respond and do things as needed.
Right, Anumita, many thanks for joining me in this live interaction. Well, there you heard it from Anumita Roy Chowdhury, clearly saying that enforcement is the only option with Delhi because every single winter season, Delhi sees a spike in pollution levels, which the government officials believe is due to the fumes from stubble burning in the neighboring state. Now, with COVID-19 also affecting lungs, officials are worried about the effect of pollution on lungs as well. So in the past, schemes including car rationing schemes or even had also been implemented to control vehicular pollution. But this time, like Anumita Roy clearly said, enforcement and also stringent protocols and tightening the noose around such industries or polluting agents is the need of the hour. So if you guys have liked this piece of information that we've shared with you all today, please do drop in your comments. And also most importantly, like, share and subscribe to News 9 Digital on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Twitter. Many thanks for joining us.